And help me welcome Jay Gautier.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Jose is always so energetic, and I appreciate that. How's everybody doing tonight? We have a great time so far. Okay, absolutely. A couple of great presentations. And we were talking about a 90-day transformation to a new you. I wonder, how many of us are afraid of that? I mean, think about it. Do we really want to become a new us, or do we just want different results? But we don't get different results when we don't change. And we don't become that person that is going to get those results. How many of you were inspired by, both stories tonight? I mean, a young man here who's already being an entrepreneur path. And Nadine, I mean, man, I was a little intimidated there. She was doing all kinds of awesome things. How many of you think, what did she mention? Motorcycle riding, financial planner, real estate. What was the rest of it? Oh, man. So, how many of you think you could do the things that she's done? Anybody?
All of them?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I like that. I like the fact that you raised your hand, because often when I would ask a question like that, the majority of people would not raise their hand. It just shows we have a great group in this room today. And the reason that many people will not do it is because they don't believe that they could. She obviously believed that she could, correct? Now, she seems to be a smart lady. Is she smarter than you? That's the question. Hopefully, our answer would be no. Not necessarily smarter than me. She's just taken some steps that maybe we have or have not taken. How many of us have had our spiritual temperature or our entrepreneur temperature or whatever you want to call it go up and down through our life? If you've gone to seminars, maybe you've heard like Tony Robbins or some of these others that will talk about our life being like a thermostat. Anyone here, besides the ladies, have hot flashes in your life at any time? Yeah, we've had those, right? Hot flashes where we really were on fire, really on the move, really revolutionizing our life, really changing some things. And then we have those cold periods. They say that people have like an internal thermostat where they'll get fired up for some times, and then they'll just do something that once it's getting fired up, they'll kind of calm themselves down and get right back to 75 or 78 degrees or wherever they're comfortable. And then there's those cold times. Maybe you've experienced financial issues, or something's not happening right in your business or in your job, or something's not going right in your family, and all of a sudden when it's really cold and things are getting bad, what do? We get fired up, we turn up the heat, we do what we have to do. Maybe we take a second job, maybe we start working harder, maybe we start doing more sales. We mentioned real estate tonight, and realtor, like if you need sales and you haven't sold any houses and all of a sudden you're going broke, what do realtors do? They step it up every time, right? So there's that temperature, but it seems that in our life, it's quite possible that you're here tonight and you've gone to seminars, gone to different types of teachings, made different types of decisions, and yet somehow you always seem to end up around the same place. Not much has changed. So the 90-day transformation is the fact that we have to raise that temperature and have that higher temperature be the new norm. The new normal. Not just something that we're going to do temporarily and go back down to. And we have to identify in our lives what it is that's going to contribute to that and bring us closer to that temperature, and the other things which will just distract us and take away from that. Correct? I'm thinking of a story of an older man who went fishing one day. And this older man was enjoying the peacefulness and the solitude, when all of a sudden he heard a small voice from somewhere, and he couldn't identify where, very high pitched, just saying, "Hey, you!" And he looked around, and he's trying to see who's addressing him, and He thinks, I just must be hearing things. And so he goes on with fishing, and all of a sudden, once again, he hears, "Hey, you!" And he looks down, and he notices by his feet there's a small frog that's sitting down there. And he's very curious at the frog, and the frog once again says, "Hey, you! Pick me up and kiss me, and I'll become the most beautiful woman you've ever seen." He ignored the frog. He continued to fish, thought that's not true. But then, after a few minutes, the frog was persistent and said, "Hey, you! Pick me up and kiss me, and I'll become the most beautiful woman you've ever seen." So the old man reached down and carefully picked up the frog, raised the frog up towards his face, took a look at it, and then proceeded to put the frog in his pocket. And then from inside the pocket, he heard, "Hey, you! Didn't you hear what I just said? Pick me up and kiss me, and I'll become the most beautiful woman you've ever seen." And the old man replied, and he said, "At my age, I'm much better off with a talking frog." So we've got to identify what would get us towards our goal and what doesn't. We have a lot of distractions in life that come along that would give us less than what we're after. There's a lot of things we can involve ourselves in, get busy with, but it's not necessarily going to get us where we want to go. So we want to raise that temperature of achievement in our life, and a lot of that has to do with our beliefs. So I asked you at the beginning tonight, how many of you believe you could do the different things that Nadine has done? And many of you raised our hand. It's one thing to say we believe it. It's one thing to know deep down inside that we can. It's another thing to have that belief become so strong that we start to take some of those actions in our life. Now, I'm going to sit here and tell you that I don't really have a desire to be a motorcycle racing champion. I think it would be cool to do that, but it's not something I'm going to devote my time to. It's a little dangerous, so no thanks. But I need to identify the things I want to do and believe that I can do it and really go after it. And a lot of that has to do with our attitude. A couple other things to balance really quickly that we have to keep in mind is pain and pleasure. She mentioned fear. She said no fear. I'm going to contradict her on that one just a little bit. Not what she meant, but I'm going to throw it in there. There should be some fear. It should be the fear of never doing what it is that you wanted to do with your life. That should be a huge fear. The fear that somehow life could just keep ticking, we just keep pretty much being at the same temperature that we are, and the time comes when all of a sudden the opportunities are gone, life is over, and we never did it. That should be a huge fear. Not fear of taking action, but fear of never taking action. That's huge. Ask yourself the big dreams you have, the things you want to do, the things you want to accomplish in your life. Is it okay if you don't accomplish it? Is that okay? Because if you answer in your head that it is okay, then guess what? You're not going to do it. You're not going to do it. It's got to become the biggest fear in your life to not accomplish what it is that you have set out to do, that's been put in your heart. And that fear should become greater than the fear of whatever it is you need to do to get there. So a lot of times we won't take steps. Because, what if it doesn't work? What if I fail? What if I'm rejected? What if I make a fool out of myself? And for those different reasons, we won't take action. But when we allow the fear of not doing it to become greater, then that's what will get us to move. Many years ago when I was struggling and I had tried a bunch of things, nothing worked. All of a sudden I was broke. I was getting ready to lose my house. All kinds of things were happening back in 2008. What did that cause me to do? Did I lay in bed and weep about it? Or did I get my butt up, go get a couple other extra opportunities and do whatever I could to make ends meet? We move when we have to. And we need to light a fire somehow under ourselves that causes us to move And make sure that we don't allow ourselves to be in a state of comfort where we'll stay exactly where we are. Create the discomfort if you have to move. And then work on those beliefs. In the first week, for those of you who are here, I talked about you need to discover who it is that you want to become. What do they act like? What do they think like? What are the actions that they take? And start playing that role. Start becoming that person. Even if you're thinking, I'm an actor or an actress, this is the way, this is me, that's me, this is how they act, this is how they live, this is how they respond. And start doing it until it becomes you. I did this as a basketball coach. Jose mentioned that. I had girls that were horrible at times. Not my daughter, but since she's in the room, and actually no. But it all had to do with belief. I go to a girl who I needed to shoot 3-point shots, and I would have her repeat, I am a 3-point shooter. I am a 3-point shooter. Now, how dumb does that sound, really? But I'd have her repeat it until she believed it. I said, look, when you take that shot, I need you to believe that every time you shoot it, it's going in. I had this girl, gentle giant, 5'11", and she was big. At least big for what I got. I usually had like little Asian players and little Hispanic players, and they're all like 5'5", 5'4", 5'2". So she was big for my team. But she was so passive. She was really gentle, and she'd almost apologize to you if she bumped into you. And so we said to her, I said, this is what I need you to say. This is what I need you to believe. I am an unstoppable force. She so didn't believe it that she couldn't even say it. And the whole team's like, no, you need to say it. You need to believe it. You need to say it. And this is what I found very interesting. She'd go in a game, and these little girls who were 5'4" would just go right around her and right over her, and she'd do nothing about it. They'd push her out of the way. It was really ridiculous. It's kind of like, I don't know if you've ever seen in a circus how an elephant is tied to a little peg in the ground. Have you ever noticed that? And that's because when that elephant was little, they would tie that elephant to that little peg because at the time that little peg could hold the elephant there. And so now that giant elephant, which could yank that peg and anything that it was connected to right out of the ground and go on its merry way, doesn't move because that elephant believes that that little peg can hold him there. How sad is that? And so this girl, I saw her, we did this little all-star game where it was like our team against the alumni, and the alumni, on the alumni team was her sister, who was 6 feet tall and big and had the total opposite personality. I coached her for 2 years, and that girl would just level you. And I watched this girl, Yvette, play against her sister, this gentle giant, that day. And she played like an animal. I mean, she held her off the boards, kept her away from there. Strong defense, bumped her, challenged everything, was giving her sister fits. And trust me, her sister was not going easy on her. She was actually getting very frustrated. And after the game, I went to her and I said, what are you afraid of? Because for some reason, you can do it against your sister who's better and bigger than anybody you play against. And yet for some reason, when it's someone else, your belief tells you that you let some little 5'4" person that has 80 pounds less than you push you around. It was all belief. It was just all belief and comfort. Let's ask ourselves today, like the elephant, what is our little peg? What's holding us back? Maybe it's an entrepreneur type of thing that we want to take part in. And somewhere in your mind, you're saying, every time I try one of these, something goes wrong. Every time I invest my money, I lose it. Maybe you believe that anyone that would teach you or have a program out there, they'll be the only one that'll make money and you won't. Because you've seen that happen over and over again. Other people could be successful at it, but no, somehow I never am. And it's possible that that little peg of fear will just hold you where you are. That's why I appreciate Jeff. It was a brief speech. We didn't give him much time. But how old are you right now?
24.
24 years old, and so you're taking the path of an entrepreneur path, an entrepreneur journey. And I love that because 90% or more of people in your age group will just settle for working at McDonald's or Home Depot or something like that and just find a sure way of just getting a little bit of income. So compliments to someone who says, no, I have bigger dreams than that. I have bigger goals than that. I mean, he shouldn't have to wait till, if he waits till he's 40 or 45 to start trying those things, will he ever try them?
Probably not.
Probably not. Because the responsibilities of life and everything will kick in. Now, for those of us who are older, I'm not revealing my age, but I'm in that upper bracket, it's a lot harder, huh? Because we have responsibilities that are there, and we've done the same thing. It's hard to break out of that mold, and we have so many experiences of so many years of doing it a different way. And that little peg, we just believe, just like it's always held us, it still will. So you got to change those beliefs. As we get towards the end of this, I want you to ask yourself the question. The big dreams, the big transformation, the big results, do you even know what they are? And if you do, why, up to this point, have we not gotten there yet? Do you really believe that you could be extremely successful? I hope the answer is yes. I work in a very large company. We go to a convention in Las Vegas, and I see people that are absolutely amazingly successful financially. And then I see people that aren't. And put them together up on the stage, and I just shake my head. I can't figure it out. I just can't figure it out. The only thing I can figure is a lot of times the people that are just absolutely amazingly successful, it's kind of like what she was bringing up earlier. Don't worry about perfection, just excellence, just get the results. A lot of us are too smart for our own good. We think so much and we analyze so much that we don't move. Where other people just in blind ignorance just do it. Because they never even thought twice. So that's a challenge for you, for me, for all of us. What is holding us back? It might be our own analyzation. It might be our own thinking. It might be our own logic. And if we don't change, 3 months from now, 6 months from now, 1 year from now, 5 years from now, you might be sitting in the same venue, and somebody like me is going to come up and is going to share something very similar, because there's really nothing original here about what I'm telling you. Most of you have heard this kind of thing before. And you're going to hear it, and you're going to go, that's right, that's right, that's right. And if that happens, I hope you're not going to be sitting here and then thinking back to this night when I asked you, in 3 to 5 years, will you be in the exact same spot that you are right now? May it not be true that we get to that point and we say, oh man, nothing's changed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia.
Thank you.
We would like to have some few questions and answers
Sure.
from the audience. Is there any questions and answers that you have for Mr. Jay Garcia?
I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
In regard to creating discomfort, or maybe not creating discomfort. But I kind of wrote this in the same little paragraph about the elephant being held in position by a little peg. So it has to do with conditioning, right? Something that we've been taught from an early age. The elephant's been held down since probably from birth, right? Is it hard? Do you feel it's hard for to get the gentle giant to change, right? To see to change her perspective from what she wants, from how she is to from what you want her to be.
I think it's extremely hard. And it has to be a huge, huge, strong desire within them to change. Because the reason that they are that way is because that's who they are. And so they may not like the results, but they're not comfortable being anything else. And that's the problem. So it takes a huge effort, huge effort. Yes?
In harmony with his comment, as you grow older, it's, would you say that it's even more difficult because as you said, more responsibilities come upon you. Jeff, you told here, 24. It's all right out there in front of him.
Sure.
I've got a birthday coming up tomorrow. It is not all right.
It's 26, right?
26.
Yes,
exactly.
okay.
And it is not all right out there in front of you because you realize, what next? How do I create what it is that I need and want? What are the next steps? And what I found doesn't work is by getting with people like yourself, because it's then you're scrambling, you're like crabs in a bucket, you're scrambling, trying to figure it out together. And you think that that would help, but it doesn't.
You're right.
Okay.
It does not help. In fact, they don't want you to be successful, even though they say that they do.
Exactly.
Because if you are, it'll make them feel even worse about the fact that they've never done it.
Then one more question, one more. Then
Yes.
people that say that they're helping, when someone says that they're helping and so forth, but yet they don't allow independent opinion, what would be your take on that?
What do you mean they don't allow?
Independent opinion. They insist that you call your role, say you're a brain surgeon, but they insist that you call yourself a neurosurgeon. And they insist on this. They're just dogmatic about it. Even though you want to say that you're a brain surgeon. Would you say that that person's impeding you?
Yeah, they want you to fit into a certain
That
thing.
mold.
Yeah, a certain mold. Don't break out of it. Don't do anything else.
Had it happen recently.
Okay. Yeah, and there's a lot of people like that. They don't want you to change. Just accept things the way they are and be that way, and just don't rock the boat. Yes, sir.
Yes, so this is the second session of a 6-part session, right?
Third.
This is the third?
Yes.
Okay, I must have missed one. And so I take it if you just laying the foundation now, and you're gonna, as you go, you're gonna explain more things to be able to show how to make that transformation.
Yeah, starting with the next one. We've got the foundation down now, so.
You got it. You're leading up to how to make that change.
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
Question here?
Yeah, I do think it's important to gain knowledge from both sides. It's like a lot of people, like they might grow up and their parents will tell them, you gotta get a job, get a salary, this is the way to go. So they don't think otherwise.
Correct.
So it's good to know the other side better than what you think yourself.
Right. Get a good balanced perspective. Because there's a little bit to be learned from both.
Right.
Very much so. Yes?
Well, I think that sometimes when our dream is presenting itself in a little bit distant or crooked way, but it's there. So, for example, I've always had a dream of being a well-known money-making writer who wrote great stuff that helped people.
Okay.
But I taught literature for 35 years. And for those 35 years, I never wrote a book. And then I quit, and, I retired, and then I wrote a book. I'm on my second.
Okay.
But the point is that I was doing for other people what I wanted to do for myself, and I felt good about that, and I really enjoyed my job. It was a great job. But I took it away from myself. And that seems to be a pattern that a lot of people have with their dream. They'll slant it a little bit so that they're even enjoying it, but they're not letting it happen to them.
Good point. In fact, I'll end with this. Why do a lot of people live vicariously through their children?
Yes.
And a lot of that reason, because when they start living vicarious through their children, they're often themselves only 30, 40, something years old. But they have already decided that they won't make it.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, Jen. Ninety-day transformation. Thank you. I'm taking on the 90-day transformation. I even created like a schedule for myself. I even